the US hit China with some of the toughest tech sanctions in history. The goal? To slow down China's rise in artificial intelligence, chips, and advanced manufacturing. But here's the twist. It might have done the opposite. Instead of choking China's tech industry, the sanctions sparked something unexpected: a nationwide tech revival. China didn't just survive the pressure. In many ways, it thrived, and today we're seeing Chinese companies launch products and systems the world thought they'd need decades to develop. Today we're diving into how US sanctions didn't just fail to stop China's tech ambitions, they might have accelerated them. From secret chip breakthroughs to explosive growth in domestic innovation, this is the story of how pressure turned into power. Let's rewind. In 2019, the US began cracking down on Chinese tech giants. The fear that China would leapfrog global competitors in key sectors like AI, telecommunications, semiconductors, and quantum computing. Huawei, a tech giant with massive influence on 5G development, was one of its first targets. The US blacklisted them, citing national security concerns. Soon after, ZTE, another telecom company, was fined and restricted. By 2022, the sanctions reached a new level. The US placed export controls on advanced semiconductors, blocking China from buying high-end chips and the machines used to make them. It wasn't just about phones anymore, it was about stopping China's access to the future of computing. The goal was clear: disrupt China's ability to advance in areas that could challenge US dominance, both economically and militarily. At first, it worked. Huawei's smartphone sales plummeted. Without access to key US components and Google services, their international market share collapsed. Semiconductor companies like SMIC suddenly lost access to the cutting-edge tools they needed to manufacture advanced chips. Startups were hit hard. Many relied on US software like Cadence and Synopsys for chip design. Overnight, those doors slammed shut. Some projects froze, others shut down entirely. It looked like the plan was working. For a moment, China's rapid tech ascent seemed to slow. But that moment didn't last. Instead of folding, China went all in. The central government launched a multi-year plan called Made in China 2025, rebranded and reloaded. Billions of dollars in new subsidies and grants were issued to support domestic alternatives to everything from chip-making equipment to enterprise software. New industrial parks focused on semiconductors sprang up in provinces like Jiangsu, Anhui, and Guangdong. Universities expanded programs in microelectronics and computer engineering. Talent flowed in. Engineers who once worked abroad returned to China, drawn by opportunity and patriotism. The sense of urgency was real. The message was simple: we'll build it ourselves. And then came the comeback nobody saw coming. Huawei. After nearly being crippled by US sanctions, Huawei went quiet. They scaled back international marketing, reduced new product announcements, and focused on rebuilding. But in 2023, Huawei shocked the world with the launch of the Mate 60 Pro. It wasn't just a sleek new smartphone, it was proof of resilience. Inside the device was the Kirin 9000S, a 7nm chip designed by Huawei and manufactured by SMIC, China's top chip foundry. How was this possible? SMIC wasn't supposed to be able to make such chips without the most advanced EUV lithography machines they couldn't legally acquire. Yet, through workarounds and deep R&D, they pulled it off. The chip wasn't perfect, but it worked. It enabled 5G, and it sent a message: China could still compete at the highest level. The phone sold out across the country. It became a symbol of resistance, and of what's possible when a country decides to fight back through innovation. Huawei's comeback was just the beginning. Across China, new tech champions were rising. In the AI chip space, companies like Byron Technology and More Threads developed GPUs aimed at replacing banned NVIDIA chips. While not as powerful yet, they're closing the gap fast. In CPUs, Lungsun and Phytium started producing processors used in government systems, industrial automation, and some laptops. In cloud computing, Huawei, Alibaba, and Tencent doubled down on their offerings, replacing US cloud services in government contracts. Meanwhile, China's AI ecosystem boomed. Baidu's Ernie bot, Alibaba's Tongyi, and Tencent's Hunyuan became direct challengers to GPT-based systems. They focused on local language models, enterprise integration, and scalability, tailored specifically for Chinese users. What began as replacements are now turning into competitors. What started as a sanctions policy quickly became a full-blown decoupling. China began systematically removing foreign software from public institutions. Schools, government offices, and state-owned enterprises were instructed to replace Windows with Chinese-made operating systems like Kylin and UOS. Cloud infrastructure was localized. Sensitive data had to stay within national borders. US services like AWS and Google Cloud faded from the Chinese market, replaced by Alibaba Cloud and Huawei Cloud. Even development tools were replaced. Where Chinese engineers once relied on GitHub, many now use domestic platforms like Git. The message from the Chinese government was consistent: build a tech stack that can't be shut off from the outside. Ironically, the sanctions that aimed to protect US tech companies ended up costing them. Intel, Nvidia, Qualcomm all saw sharp drops in their China revenue. For some, China represented up to 30% of their total sales. The new rules forced them to offer downgraded products or leave the market. ASML, the Dutch firm making the world's most advanced chip machines, faced pressure to halt sales to China. They complied, but competitors and customers outside of China took notice. What happens if they're next? Global trust in open tech supply chains began to erode. The impact of US sanctions wasn't limited to China and the West. In Southeast Asia, Latin America, and parts of Africa, Chinese tech has become a welcome alternative. For governments and companies that can't afford or don't trust US systems, Chinese products are now Plan A. Huawei is building cloud data centers across the Middle East. ZTE is deploying 5G in Latin America. Chinese AI models are being integrated into business tools in Southeast Asia. And because Chinese systems are often cheaper and faster to deploy, they're winning market share in regions traditionally dominated by Western firms. The most dangerous part? The speed. Sanctions were meant to slow China down. Instead, they kicked innovation into overdrive. From chip design to cloud infrastructure, Chinese firms began innovating at startup speed, but with national-level backing. They're not just copying anymore. They're building, refining, and preparing for global competition. And it's not just about catching up. It's about leapfrogging. Some startups are working on chip architectures that bypass traditional bottlenecks. Others are developing vertical integration strategies, designing, fabricating, and deploying their own hardware and software stacks. It's a new model, one that could make Chinese tech more resilient than ever. So, did the US achieve its goal? Temporarily, maybe. Some Chinese companies suffered. Some supply chains were disrupted. But in the long run, the sanctions lit a fire. They forced China to look inward, to rebuild, and to innovate. Now, China is closer than ever to tech independence, and while some gaps remain, especially in the most advanced chips, it's clear that closing them is a national priority, and that priority is backed by billions of dollars, massive talent, and political will. The real win for China isn't just technological, it's psychological. They no longer feel beholden to the West for progress. They've proven they can chart their own path. The implications are global. The tech world is splitting into two ecosystems, one US-led and one China-led. Developing countries will have to choose. Multinational companies will have to navigate two sets of rules, platforms, and standards. Innovation will no longer be shared as easily. Competition will intensify. And in that race, being first might matter more than ever. The next breakthrough in AI, 6G, or quantum computing might not come from California. It might come from Chengdu, Hangzhou, or Beijing. And that should make everyone, governments, companies, and consumers, pay close attention. The US sanctions were meant to slow China down, but instead they've created a tech superpower. What started as a punishment became motivation. What was meant to limit unlocked a new wave of ambition. In just a few short years, China's tech industry has gone from shaken to surging, and it's showing no signs of stopping. So the question now is, what happens when the thing meant to hold you back ends up launching you forward? Because that's exactly what we're watching unfold. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a deep dive like this. We've got more on the future of global tech, AI, and electric vehicles coming soon.